The Haunting of Hollow Ridge. Episode 18, Shadows of the Past. With a sense of urgency driving them, Nina and her friends gathered in the community center the following day, armed with the scrolls they had discovered in the library. The room buzzed with anticipation, and the townspeople began to arrive, eager to hear what they had uncovered. Nina stood at the front, her heart racing. "We found some symbols in the library," she announced, unfurling one of the scrolls on the table. The townsfolk leaned in closer, their eyes wide with curiosity. "This drawing shows the remaining symbols we need to find," she continued, tracing the lines with her finger. "They are linked to places that hold significant meaning for the town, places where the entity's darkness has rooted itself." Jack chimed in, "We need to split up and cover more ground. We'll visit each location on the list and search for the symbols." Mr. Harker nodded, stepping forward. "I'll gather volunteers to help you. The entire town has faced this darkness, and we must work together to eliminate it once and for all." As volunteers began to assemble, Nina felt a renewed sense of hope. The town had come together, united against the shadows of the past. They had faced fear and emerged stronger, and they would continue to fight for Hollow Ridge. Their first stop was the old cemetery, a somber place where the town's history lay buried beneath moss-covered gravestones. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth as they arrived, a chill running through the group. "Keep your eyes peeled for anything unusual," Nina instructed, scanning the area for signs of the symbols. They split into pairs, each group searching different sections of the cemetery. Tom and Grace walked along the path lined with ancient trees, while Jack and Daniel explored the far corner, where the oldest grave stood. As Nina wandered deeper into the cemetery, she felt an unsettling presence, the air thick with unease. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, making her question her sanity. She shook her head, trying to focus on the task at hand. Suddenly, she heard a soft sobbing sound. Following the sound, she found a weathered headstone with a bouquet of wilted flowers at its base. The sobbing intensified, but there was no one in sight. "Hello?" Nina called out, her voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" The sobbing stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. Just as she turned to leave, a shadow emerged from behind the headstone. It was a figure, a woman dressed in tattered, old-fashioned clothing, her face obscured by a veil. Nina's breath caught in her throat. "Who are you?" she asked, stepping back cautiously. The figure raised her head, revealing hollow eyes filled with sorrow. "I am bound to this place, lost in the echoes of the past. The darkness has taken my peace." Nina's heart ached for her. "What can we do to help you?" The woman pointed toward a nearby grave, the inscription barely legible. "Find the truth of my death. Only then can I rest." Feeling a strange connection to the ghostly figure, Nina nodded. "I promise I'll help you. We'll uncover the truth." Meanwhile, Tom and Grace had come across a small stone monument covered in vines. "This has to be significant," Tom said, pulling the vines away. As they cleared the debris, symbols began to emerge from the stone, shimmering in the light. "Look!" Grace exclaimed, pointing at one of the symbols. "This matches the one from the scrolls." With newfound excitement, they hurried back to the main group, sharing their discovery. "We found one of the symbols," Tom announced. It was hidden beneath the vines. Nina felt a rush of hope, but her mind lingered on the ghostly woman. "We have to find the truth about her. There's a reason she's still here." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the cemetery, the group reconvened to discuss their findings. They shared what they had learned, and the town's history began to unfold before them, stories of heartbreak, betrayal, and unresolved mysteries. Mr. Harker spoke up. "We should research the names on the gravestones. They could lead us to the truth." The group agreed, and they set off for the local archives, determined to uncover the history of the town and the secrets it had buried. Each step felt like a step deeper into the shadows of their past. At the archives, they pored over dusty records and fragile documents, searching for any mention of the woman they had encountered. Hours passed, and just as fatigue began to settle in, Tom gasped. "I found something. Here." He pointed to an old newspaper clipping detailing a tragic accident that had claimed the life of a woman named Elizabeth Finch, a woman who had been buried in the cemetery. "This is her," Nina whispered, feeling the weight of the revelation. "We need to honor her memory." The group gathered around the article, their expressions somber. Elizabeth had been a beloved figure in the town, her life cut short under mysterious circumstances. The article hinted at unresolved tensions with her family, a potential motive for foul play. "We need to dig deeper," Jack said, determination shining in his eyes. "If we can find out what really happened to her, maybe we can set her spirit free." With a renewed sense of purpose, they continued their research, determined to uncover the truth behind Elizabeth's death. As they worked late into the night, they uncovered more about the Finch family and their connection to the town's history, a web of secrets that twisted and turned, linking to the darkness that had taken root in Hollow Ridge. Nina felt a sense of urgency building within her. They were uncovering pieces of a puzzle that went beyond Elizabeth's story. It was a history intertwined with the entity they had faced. Finally, as the clock ticked toward midnight, they discovered a reference to a family feud that had torn the Finches apart. It was jealousy and greed that led to her death, Tom concluded, piecing the story together. Her family hid the truth, allowing the darkness to flourish. Nina felt a chill run down her spine. "We need to confront the truth. It's the only way to free Elizabeth and break the cycle of darkness in Hollow Ridge." As they prepared to return to the cemetery, a sense of dread settled over them. They had faced the shadows before, but this time felt different. They weren't just battling an entity, they were confronting the very essence of the darkness that had haunted their town for generations. As they stepped back into the cemetery, the moon hung high, illuminating the graves with an ethereal glow. The atmosphere felt charged, and Nina sensed that they were not alone. Shadows flickered in the corners of her vision, but she pressed forward, determined to face whatever awaited them. They gathered around Elizabeth's grave, their hearts heavy with the weight of her story. "We're here to honor you," Nina spoke softly, her voice steady. "We want to bring the truth to light." As if in response, the air grew colder, and the ghostly figure of Elizabeth appeared before them, her expression a mix of sorrow and gratitude. "You have found the truth," she said, her voice echoing like a whisper in the wind. "But the darkness still seeks to bind me. You must finish what was begun." Nina felt the fear wash over her, but she steadied herself. "We will free you. Together." With the group gathered around her, they focused on the symbols they had uncovered, channeling their energy and determination into a single purpose. The moonlight bathed them in its glow, illuminating the grave as they summoned the light within themselves. As they stood united, Nina felt a surge of warmth envelop them. The shadows began to retreat, drawn away by the light they created. Elizabeth's figure shimmered, her sorrow lifting as the darkness surrounding her faded. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice a gentle breeze. "You have set me free." With one final burst of light, the shadows dissipated, and the cemetery fell silent. The weight of the darkness had lifted, and the air felt lighter. As they looked around, the stars twinkled above, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could shine through. With Elizabeth finally at peace, Nina and her friends knew they had taken a crucial step in their fight against the darkness. But they also understood that there was still more to uncover and more symbols to find. The shadows of the past had been confronted, but the storm was far from over. Hollow Ridge would need their courage and unity now more than ever. End of episode 18.